The video interview is one of the basic types of recordings a filmmaker should learn. There are many ways to shoot an interview. We have prepared 10 tips for you to prepare, conduct and film an interview with your smartphone or video camera. Tip number 1. Prepare your intent. Answer yourself these questions. What will be the topic of the interview? Who will be the interviewee? Where do I want to record the interview? What do I want to do with it when I'm done? And what are some good questions I can ask my interviewee? Tip number 2. Prepare your open-ended questions in advance. Anticipate what direction you'd like the interview to go. Do short research on your interviewee. Find out information about the topic of the interview so that you do not ask stupid or meaningless questions. There is no need to have a bunch of questions. 10 questions will be enough. Your questions should be asked in such a way that you won't get a yes or no answer. You need your interviewee to give longer answers that you can use in your video edits. Put simply, anything that can be answered with a yes or no is the wrong question. You have 5 W's: who, what, where, when, why, and above that one, great, how. Tip number 3. Don't give the list of questions to the interviewee in advance. It's perfectly acceptable to give someone a general idea of what the interview will be about, but do not give them the list of questions. If you do, they will prepare or memorize their answers, and your video will lose spontaneity and freshness. Your interview will look static, unauthentic, and pre-prepared. Number 4. Be prepared but spontaneous. You have some questions ready in advance, which is great. But if the interviewee says something interesting, do not be afraid to explore it further. The interviewee might offer information that you weren't expecting, taking you in an entirely different yet more interesting direction. Unplanned spontaneous questions and answers are often the best moments in video. Tip number 5. Get the interviewee's permission. Get a signed release form from your interviewee if you plan on showing this film anywhere other than your home. Avoid filming children and young people under 18 until you are aware of the legal issues that come along with this. Tip number 6. Avoid unnecessary sounds and words. Stay quiet when the other person is talking. You don't need to hear your yes, alright in the recordings. Just ask the questions and then keep quiet. Nodding and smiling are not audible in your recordings, so you can use them to support the interviewee. Tip number 7. Start with easy questions and listen carefully. It is a good tactic to start the questioning with safe and easy questions. This will make the interviewee more relaxed, used to the recording equipment and environment. Wait to ask the harder questions once the interviewee is warmed up. Also, look at the subject when they talk to you. The way you behave to people you talk to is important. Pay close attention to the content of what they are saying and the context in which they are saying it and what their face, body, voice and eyes are really saying to you. Tip number 8. Find a good location to record. Finding a good location is key to set up a mood and create a good video. Your interview location and background are often important in the final result. We recommend to find a location and scout it out before the shooting starts. Tip number 9. 2 smartphones are better than 1. It's not necessary, but using 2 smartphones is better than using just one. The first smartphone is for a wide or medium shot and looking straight at the subject, and the second smartphone set on a close-up shot either on the right or left side of the establishing first smartphone. From a technical point of view, it is important to do at least the following 3 things correctly. Put your smartphone in the right place, use correct lighting, and record sound clearly. Tip number 10. Follow the rules for smartphone and subject placement. Place your subject's face and eyes in the right place according to the rule of thirds. Film the interview subject straight on or at an angle. 45 degrees is ideal. Have the interview subject speak directly to the person asking the questions, not directly into the smartphone. The interviewer should sit near the smartphone, but not behind the smartphone when asking questions. Make sure the eyes of the interviewee don't go from place to place during the interviews. Stand as close to the smartphone as you can. Eyes look will be slightly off smartphone, but that's totally alright. Here is a brief summary. We've just introduced 10 practical tips on how to film an interview. Let us repeat them all at the conclusion. Tip number 1, prepare your intent. Tip number 2, prepare your open-ended questions in advance. Tip number 3, don't give the list of questions to the interview in advance. Tip number 4, be prepared but spontaneous. Tip number 5, get the interviewee's permission. Tip number 6, avoid unnecessary sounds and words. Tip number 7, start with easy questions and listen carefully. Tip number 8, find a good location to recording. Tip number 9, 2 smartphones are better than 1. And finally, tip number 10, follow the rules for smartphone and subject placement. Thank you for your attention and we wish you a lot of success.